Let's talk to Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International. There's a bit of breaking news first of all. Emily Thornberry has apparently dropped out of the Labour deputy leadership race. How irrelevant that piece of breaking news is at this moment in time, I can't begin to tell you. Isabel Oakeshott, though, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. I mean, I can tell from your voice that you feel as I do this morning. I actually just didn't sleep a wink last night. I found that news so very shocking.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are such implications. As you said, this is absolutely not about us, but it is about our politicians and any right-wing kind of commentators who stick their neck out. And indeed, of course, it's not limited to the right. You know, the victims of political assassinations in our own countries have been from across the political divide, Joe Cox being the most obvious one, and David Amos.
Yeah.
But it really does hammer home what has happened to our public discourse and the sheer vulnerability of anyone who quite literally sticks their neck out. An unfortunate analogy at this point, but that is what politicians who fight for causes do. And, you know, we can all disagree with each other, but most people, I think, even if I think they're completely wrong about things,
Yeah.
I still think that they're generally motivated by good intentions. You know, most people on the left genuinely want to make life better for other people. I mean, I just happen to think that their ideas are all wrong.
Right.
The problem, I think, is that the left so often depicts those on the right as evil. You know, they don't seem to be prepared to accept that we just have a different prescription for making the world a better place than they do. They genuinely think we're evil. And by way of example of that, you only have to look to yesterday, when you had that moron, John McDonnell, pathetically wheeling out the old tropes about Nazism and 1930s Germany in the context of reform. You know, what an unfortunate intervention by him yesterday in the light of what's happened, because when you say things like that, you know, I'm all in favour of people being able to say stupid things. That's how our country should be. But you've got to realise that when you casually depict people on the other side of the political divide as evil Nazis, there may well be truly devastating consequences to that. One nutter, one gun, or one knife, that is all it takes. And it is incumbent on all of us to have that in mind. I really worry for certain people, and I'm sure you can imagine who I'm thinking of, in the forefront of political debate, the most controversial figures in our politics right now. I truly worry for their safety.
Absolutely right, and because we see the rhetoric, and you know, you and I are both reasonably robust individuals. I was really upset by it last night, you know, and this morning. And the thing is that you think, well, we can't allow that to affect how we operate. We can't allow feeling, you know, in some way vulnerable to stop us from saying what we say. And I wouldn't do it for a moment. But it just makes you think, doesn't it? It just makes you wonder what on earth the world is coming to.
It does make you think. And, you know, I am certain that neither Nigel Farage nor Keir Starmer nor Richard Tice nor anyone else in the forefront of British politics is going to change the way they approach things in the light of this. They are still going to be as robust as ever, as speaking from the heart and convicted. But it does have practical implications. I mean, there was footage yesterday of Sarah Pochin and Richard Tice around just outside Parliament, in you know, pretty sort of heated moments there, talking to old Steve Bray, who I know would never do any harm to anybody. He's that pro EU propagandist who stands outside Parliament. But you know, you've got to now think carefully about going out into crowds and what may happen. I don't think that'll stop our politicians doing it, and I really hope it doesn't. But it's just something that one has to be increasingly conscious of.
Yeah, And what do you think's causing it, though? Because, you know, you and I have been around for a while. It's never been this bad before. What do you think's happened to people?
I do think social media plays a significant part in this. It makes everybody feel as if they've got their own little power base, and however completely unhinged that may be. And I think social media inflames things. And, you know, people like me who write punchy things on social media are part of that. And, you know, I know that, you know, punchy opinion is, there's a market for it. And I don't mean like a financial market, but actually, you know, people want to have the row, don't they?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's always been over time that there are lunatics, but at this point, they're perhaps more likely to be political lunatics than they were in the past. They might previously have sort of found their outlet in some other form of horror. But politics has become tremendously polarized and tremendously angry. And I think that is particularly the case in countries like the UK, like Germany, like France, and like America, where there are massive, profound cultural shifts taking place. And you've got people on both sides of the political divide who are very ideologically driven, and they are frightened by what they see, whether it is, you know, the impact on their country of mass uncontrolled immigration, or equally people who feel that mass uncontrolled immigration is a great thing and are terrified by what they see and smear as the far right. Everything's got so extreme. You know, you look back to the Blair years, and I feel that our country was fairly united. You know, Blair, obviously his reputation came to suffer dreadfully post-Iraq. But, you know, Blair was somebody that those on the moderate right could actually get behind. That was actually his genius. And we just don't really have many figures that unite us anymore, not in politics.
No, not at all. Let's move on to, just before I let you go, because obviously it's massively important that we talk about this stuff, but let's talk about the other massive story, which would be the only thing we would be talking about normally, which is Peter Mandelson and his incredible series of emails that he appears to have sent to Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted paedophile. Forget about the bizarre Christmas birthday card, rather, that he sent, or his contribution to his 50-page book for his 50th birthday. But basically, on the front page of the Daily Mail today, telling Jeffrey Epstein that, you know, despite the fact that he's been convicted of paedophile offences, your friends love you, you should fight for early release, you know, remember the art of war, you know, advising him about strategy and saying you must come back. I mean, it gives the complete lie to the idea that he said yesterday to Harry Cole, that he was hoodwinked by him and he was sorry that he fell for his lies. You know, clearly that is absolutely, that's a balderdash.
So after seeing that first Harry Cole interview, I thought, right, he's going to scrape through this. And then came this torrent of additional information. I think his position is completely untenable.
Yeah.
What this does is lift the lid, as if it were necessary, on the sinister side of the High Prince of political darkness that is Peter Mandelson. The quote that stood out to me amongst an absolute rich tapestry of ghastly possibilities is everything can be turned into an opportunity. Yeah. I mean, that's Peter Mandelson from top to bottom. You know, everything can be turned into an opportunity. He has shown his true colours here. You know, some will say, well, if there's anyone defending him, I don't know if there is, he was a loyal friend and, you know, even supporting his best mate while his best mate was in such trouble. But I just think it doesn't wash. In the end, he said that he loves a paedophile. Great. Thanks.
I know. And worse than that, the Prime Minister of this country said yesterday that he stands full square basically behind him.
And you know, that's exactly what the Prime Minister said pretty much this time last week about Angela Rayner. And I said at the time, when Starmer came out with his full support for Angela Rayner, he may come to regret those words. And within 24 hours, he did. Starmer has no judgment. Every day he demonstrates this fact. He has very, very poor stroke, totally absent political judgment. And you know, in any normal circumstances, that would be the undoing of him. And, you know, as commentators have said 90% of the Labour Parliamentary Party cannot stand this man. If this were the Tory party, he would have been defenestrated long ago, but unfortunately it's very hard to get rid of him.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely shocking state of affairs. But listen, great to talk to you as ever, Isabel Oakeshott. Thank you very much indeed. Talks International editor.